What's up, everybody? Welcome into MLB DFS Live for Friday, May 21st. I'm your host, Ben Husser, joined by my boy Jay Rube. It's been an adventurous day, Rube, here for both of us. But
It really has been.
I'm excited to talk about some baseball. We have 15 games to go over tonight. So there's a ton of plays, right, at every position. It's a core slate, so I think cores obviously will kind of be the focus offensively. But there's a lot to unpack on the slate. So how are you doing? We haven't done a show in a couple days here.
I'm good, man. Been doing really well at baseball, basically undefeated at NBA over the past week. It's just been a really good week. I feel like I'm really locked in on both sports and just, grinding away. It's fitting that we have a crazy slate after our crazy days. So without further ado, we should hop right into it because there's a lot to go over.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, drop them into chat. I will mention core plays if you want access to the core plays that Rube was just speaking of. DFScover.com will get you access if you sign up. If you're a new user and you sign up for a week or a month, you get free optimizer access for a week. So really, really good deal there. And yeah, we'll just get into it. I will mention Final Thoughts is free today if you guys are wondering as well, Fridays. So I'll have those up before lock. And Bales did the slate breakdown, which is also up on the website, dfscover.com. But we will start at pitcher. I'm assuming, I don't know, DraftKings finally priced some of these guys up for the first time all season, basically, right? I don't know. I think we saw DeGrom at 11-2 or something once, but this is the first time that these guys have actually been priced up, right?
Yeah, for sure. They're finally starting to adjust for the pricing. I think it's fitting, now that guys are stretched out, that we're going to see these elevated price tags. I think it's a good thing when people have to make decisions, because one of the big decisions today is like, do you go with the expensive bats and cores or try to jam in Trevor Bauer with another high price pitcher? So it definitely creates a nice slate dynamic and forces people to make tough decisions. And those are the decisions that we want to help people make. And we think that we do better than everyone else.
Yeah, so we'll get into it. So Bauer, Tyler Glasnow, Aaron Nola are really the expensive pitchers here at the top. They're all over $11,000 on DraftKings, and then you could throw in Alex Wood and Ian Anderson are both 10K or above as well. And then you have Carlos Rodon right there at 9,900 as well. So there's a ton of expensive pitching. Martin Perez randomly is 9,400. So we don't need to even talk about that. I don't know what's going on there. But tons of expensive pitching today. I do think Bauer will be the highest owned. He gets the Giants, which I think is a pretty good matchup, right? I do think overall their offense is kind of pesky, right? They actually have some decent hitters there. We saw them explode for 18 runs or whatever it was yesterday. But they do, they're top three in baseball in strikeout percentage against right-handed pitching right now. So they do have some strikeouts there. Bauer is, top five, I think, in baseball. So worthy of the price tag. And I do think he's the best option today.
Yeah, I agree. Already a question in the chat from Jeremy. I mean, Jeremy has been itching for this stream all day long over in Discord, and we can't even get through the high price pitchers before he starts asking us questions about Mike Minor, as if we forgot about him. We're not there yet, Jeremy. We'll get there. Don't you worry.
We will get to Mike Minor. I do like Mike Minor today, so we will.
But
we will discuss.
To rank those top guys, maybe I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, Ben, because I know he's your boy, but for those expensive guys, number one for me in a tier of his own is Trevor Bauer. Yes, the Giants lineup is scrappy, but I kind of didn't like Male yesterday against them just because he has control issues. I don't know if we see the same thing with Trevor Bauer. I mean, he really attacks the strike zone, attacks hitters. And we're not very scared of this Giants lineup. They don't possess a ton of power upside, especially in a pitcher's park in San Francisco, compared to, the Great American Small Park yesterday in Cincinnati. So I definitely like Trevor Bauer today. And then for me, I would go to Aaron Nola before I touch Tyler Glasnow today. I'm just terrified of that park in Dunedin. It's the last series that they're going to play there. And I don't know if I want to attack Glasnow against this really hot Toronto team in that Little League ballpark.
Yeah, Um, I do agree Bauer's in a tier of his own. I don't know, man. It's tough. I completely understand what you're saying because it's not somewhere. It's basically been Coors Field, right, for this season. It's actually, I think, been
Worst field of
better.
the South. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
So I don't really want to roster any pitchers in that ballpark, but I'm not a huge Nola guy either, so it's kind of tough. Like I don't disagree with you saying that Nola's above Glass now on this slate. I just honestly I don't have a ton of interest in either of them today, to be honest.
Yeah, Bauer or bust for me at the top. I completely agree.
Yeah. So after those three, I think Ian Anderson is really interesting, but it's tough to pay 10-5 for him, and I don't really think anyone will, right? Like, I think he's going to
No.
be significantly like lower owned than Bauer.
Yeah, I think the popular build today will be Bauer and then an under 9K guy, whoever your favorite is of that group, which we'll break down next. But yeah, I think that's the popular build is building around Bauer and then a cheaper guy. I have a hot take as we get further into this pitching pool, but yeah, I don't think that that I'll be doing Ian Anderson today, despite the good matchup. Even right below him, Carlos Rodon, he's been fantastic this year. I think he needs to be brought up in the AL Cy Young conversation early on here, but against a Yankees team that just hits lefties really, really well. They have a ton of power right-handed bats. I'm just not very interested in playing him either today.
Yeah, I think those guys, those two specifically, are fine in tournaments, but they are a tough sell, especially at their price tags. It's not like you're getting them at
Yeah,
a
like
huge discount.
even Stroman at 9-1, like yeah,
That's
he might be able
pass.
to limit Miami today, but I mean, they're a scrappy team. He's a contact ground ball pitcher, so he's going to limit damage. But what's his upside at 9K? If this was a guy maybe in the low eights or high sevens, like if he was priced around Minor today, now we'd have a conversation between those two. But I just can't see myself paying 9K for Stroman, despite me thinking that he's going to be pretty successful.
Yep, I completely agree. All right, so we'll move down to that next tier. I know Jeremy was asking about Mike Minor. So there's a lot of guys that are in play in this 9K and below tier that you were speaking of. I do think Mike Minor is personally my favorite just because he gets that matchup against Detroit that we really like for left-handed pitchers. First in baseball and strikeout percentage against lefties. I don't think Mike Minor's bad. I played him a lot last season. He's at home. I don't know, but that ballpark, honestly, I feel like for a long time we were kind of considering that a good pitcher's park, right? Kauffman Stadium, but it's actually played pretty hitter friendly for the majority of the season. So I don't know. I don't think it's that great of a ballpark as it used to be, but I don't know. The matchup is really good. What is your thoughts on Minor then? Because you said you have a hot take in this tier, so I assume that means that you don't want to play Mike Minor.
No, I do want to play Mike Minor today. My hot take's a little bit lower. I am considering playing like a 4K punt guy today in
Is it
Randy
my
Dobnak.
boy?
Yeah.
It is my boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm considering it. We haven't even spoken about that. And if that's your boy, I mean,
we'll get
Ben,
we'll get we'll get
Ben,
into
I'll
it.
be all in.
I
buddy.
posted I posted in Discord earlier today. Don't let your girlfriend watch any baseball with you tonight if you're watching Randy Dobnak pitch, man. Just keep her
baby.
out of the room when he's on the mound. But
On a Friday night, I might have
you
a few
don't.
drinks
Yeah,
and roll up the Randy Dominic highlights. I mean, don't get me going here, Ben.
All right. So do you
But
have anyone
yeah,
else in that tier you like?
I like Minor a ton. You already brought it up. I mean, Detroit against lefties, we want to target that over a 30% K rate as a team. Just a ton of strikeouts in that lineup, and I do think Kauffman is not as pitcher friendly as it used to be. Definitely like it when I feel like we always have bad weather there or wind blowing in, and it is a nice day out today there. Yeah, so I mean, Minor's fine. He's going to be very popular in cash games. But I feel like he's definitely a good tournament fade. Especially if he's gaining, a ton of ownership. If he gets up into that like above 30% range, definitely someone that I'm okay getting off with. I think an interesting conversation today is Steven Strasburg coming back off the IL. They already announced that he won't have a pitch limit. Is this kind of a wait and see thing for you with him? before you could, confidently roll out Strasburg. His velocity was down early in the season, struggled with control, went on the IL. What do you think on Strasburg today?
Yeah, so I think Chris Paddock will definitely get some traction. He's going to project well. And obviously average users do use projections pretty heavily. So I think he will get some ownership. I don't have any interest in him today, really. So if you're talking Strasburg over him, yeah, 100%. I'm in for that. I think the upside's higher because at least I at least think Strasburg can get some strikeouts. I just haven't seen it for a while from Paddock, and he hasn't shown me any ability to figure out left-handed batters yet. So I do like Strasburg more than him. I think Strasburg or Miner's a compelling conversation because it's not even $1,000, right? It's not like you have to jump up a ton. You basically have to downgrade one bat a little bit.
Yeah, it's only 800 difference, and especially if we get a significant ownership discount, which I think in cash we will. In GPPs, it might be a little tight to where you probably should take the savings with Minor. But yeah, it's really going to shake out to how that final ownership percentage looks to me for what I'm going to do in tournaments. But yeah, I completely agree. I'm kind of off Chris Paddock as well. He was someone that I like. He's kind of like a Garrett Richards type, where someone that I was really bullish on the past 2 seasons as a younger prospect, and he just hasn't put it all together. The talent's there for sure, but this Seattle lineup is pretty pesky as well. I don't know what's up with some of these lineups. I feel like they're so hit or miss with Seattle and Texas and whatnot. And anytime I play a pitcher against them, they're just giving up like double-digit hits, and I'm like, what? Where are my strikeouts that I wanted here from this lineup?
Yeah, it's insane. I'm looking right here, betkarma.com/live trends. You guys can access this for free every day. Baltimore they're implied for half a run less than the Tigers. Strasburg minus 200 favorite. Yeah, you could definitely talk me into it. And like you said, they said he wasn't going to have a pitch limit. He got up over, 70? I think he threw mid-70 pitches in his rehab start, so you should
Yeah.
feel decently confident that
If you
he's
ask
going to.
me to set, yeah, if you ask me to set an over under on his in an optimal game, what I think his pitch count would probably be, I would set it around like 89 and a half. I'm not expecting 100 pitches from him, but could they extend him from that 75 if he's pitching really well? I would hope so.
Even if he threw 80 pitches, that could be, like how many pitches is Chris Paddock going to throw, right?
Yeah.
He's going to throw probably mid-80s, I would say, unless he's like really lights out, which I just don't see happening. So he's probably going to throw the same amount anyways. So I don't see like a huge difference there.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So let's talk Dobnik a little bit since we're both a little bit interested. I don't know. I'm pretty interested. How many innings you think that he's gonna go? Do you think we're talking like 2 here, or are we looking at like him potentially going 4 or 5? How stretched out do you think he is, and what are we gonna do with this? I think it's obviously GPP only to do something like this, to jam in some of these expensive bats, but it's something that I was playing around with earlier, and I was finding a lot of lineup combinations that I liked, obviously, with some of those spend up bats.
Yeah, so before we do that, I think we can say we can skip everyone else, right? Like, I think after
Oh yeah.
Minor, I don't like any of those guys. I'm a Kyle Gibson fan, but don't really want to go there against Houston. That's about it. I think you can literally skip everyone after Minor until you get down to the 4K guys.
Yeah, I completely agree. Even like Kyle Gibson, a guy that we like I'm not throwing him against Houston today, not on a 15-game slate. Carlos Martinez, no thank you. Kyle Hendricks, I know how you feel about him. It's definitely a no way for you. It's just like these guys just don't have the upside to get us there, and the prices are middling enough to where I'd rather just go get Minor, go get Strasburg, go get Paddock.
Yeah, and I do want to note, so the Rays just traded Willy Adames, like, I don't know, 45 minutes ago. And I thought they were going to call up Wander Franco. They're not. Maybe they're waiting till, like, next week or the weekend or something.
They're such losers.
What are they
Such
doing,
losers.
dude? Why is he not called up?
Yeah,
Why is
it's
he not
just the
playing tonight?
it's the bigger problem in baseball of year manipulation to get more years of control on these guys. I mean, baseball just gets in baseball's way every step of the way. You know,
Yeah,
it's
he
it's a
should be
shame.
playing tonight. I don't understand this.
Yep,
Um, but whatever. Pete Alonso just went on the injured list, so
I did see that come across my feed. Yeah,
that's
it's just
terrible.
another
They
it
can't catch.
just.
I feel like that always happens, though, right?
But we're still 3 game. We're still like 2.5 games in first place. It's just insane.
It's
It's
insane.
insane.
All right, so yeah, so Dobnak, that's the one thing, right? What you brought up, how many pitches, how many innings he gets through. That's the one thing that I think keeps him in the GPP only conversation. But he's been so he started out so he was really good last year, right? I don't know if you like know the story about him or whatever, but so this guy went to this tiny school in West Virginia, um, close to like where some of my family's from, and I think he got like some tryout with the Twins somehow, and then ended up has worked all his way up, and then he got a nice contract after last season because he was actually pretty decent for them. And coming into the year, the Twins had all these guys like they're like we're just gonna start you out in the bullpen. So he was in the bullpen, but then they sent him down to the minors, and he's been working as a starter. So I'm assuming that he's going to throw longer than 2 innings, right? Unless he got like absolutely shelled. I would assume you're at least looking at like 4 innings here, like at least.
Yeah, that's what I would hope for too. Yeah. And you hope if he's throwing well that he gets those 4 innings with a bunch of Ks. I mean, optimally to get him where you want, I think he needs like 15 points,
Yeah. And
like
I
in
I
order
think that's in the tank,
to make it
right?
make sense. It's definitely in the tank. Obviously, he's not going to project that way because it's obviously a wide range of outcomes, but for just thinking of, a best case scenario, kind of puts him in play for me.
Yeah, I mean the Indians lineup is not good. It's just not.
No, it's
They've been
definitely
no
not.
hit twice, one of which was by Wade Miley, who's like a junk baller, right? Like I
Yeah.
understand Rodon's really good, right? So I can understand, getting no hit by him. But Wade Miley is terrible.
Mhm.
Dobnak, he gets a lot of ground balls, so that's good. We like that, especially from a 4K guy. If you're telling me that they're probably not going to get completely shelled because they can at least keep the ball on the ground. And yeah, I think he's completely in play at 4K in tournaments. If you wanted to do that, even in like single entry, I think it's probably fine if you really like the lineup that you landed on.
Good, because I'm thinking about it in single entry.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I know like I hate to game log watch, but he literally just scored 10 fantasy points against the Indians in 2 innings out of the bullpen. So
Yeah, yeah. So
like a month
definitely
ago.
don't want a game log watch, but still, if we can get 4 out of him today, oh baby, I'm all the way in. Jeremy had a question. He said someone is saying Paddock is broken and to play bats against him. I don't feel that way. I still think he's pretty talented. Like a Seattle stack is fine, but I'm definitely not going out of my way on a 15 game slate to attack Chris Paddock when we have a bunch of other really good spots.
If this was a small slate, I would probably be down for that. I don't hate it. Like if you're not playing Chris Paddock, if you want to get like a Mariners guy or two in there, but I just it's 15 games. Like there's so many good offensive spots. It's tough for me to think that the Mariners are going to break the slate, especially when the Padres bullpen isn't that bad, right? So you're going to
Yeah.
have some decent guys coming in after him, but I don't mind it. Like if you want a one-off of Mitch Haniger, Kyle Lewis, Kyle Seager, the lefties are definitely who I would be interested in, right? So maybe this could be the night, man. Could this be the night for our boy that we've been
It
waiting?
has to. I mean, is it double dong night for
Is it
Mr. Kalenic?
finally double dong night for Jared Kalenic? It could be. So I
It
don't I
definitely
don't
could
mind
be.
one offing or maybe like two Mariners guys. I don't think I would go full 5-man stack though.
Yeah, I mean, like even Kyle Lewis is cheap. Like they have a
Yeah.
bunch of really cheap bats that you could stack up. So I don't hate it at all.
I mean, I agree that this is not the rookie year version of Chris Paddock that we're seeing, right? Like the
Yeah.
strikeouts haven't been there. He still hasn't figured out lefties, but I don't think he's like a complete gas can. I don't think he's the worst pitcher on the slate. I'll tell you that.
No, me either. All right. Before we transition into stacks, Christopher Ray had a question. He just wanted to know, is stacking necessary or recommended for cash? I think I know where you stand on this, but I think we both have a similar approach to where fantasy sports are getting more difficult, and we need to build as much upside in our lineups as possible to where we're like, it's kind of difficult to predict all of these one-offs going off to where we're almost stacking every night, even in cash. Do you agree with that, Ben?
Yeah, I typically for the last couple of years, I just normally end up stacking in cash games. Like once I build my lineup, I think this season is a little bit different than the last couple, just because pitching has been so dominant this year compared to some of the offenses. So
Yeah.
I think like just trying to find home runs is optimal, no matter what format you're playing, whether it be cash games, tournaments, single entry, whatever. I think just trying to find guys that are gonna be in good positions to hit home runs is fine. But I do more times than not end up stacking. Yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, you need to make decisions like you used to just jam in a bunch of these guys hitting at the top of the order. Like the David Fletchers of the world are just dead now. You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't matter that they're going to see 5 at bats. And I mean, the 6 to 8 points he's getting you just aren't valuable anymore when you have all these guys at the bottom of the order. Like, give me a Hunter Renfroe at 3K over any of those punt, no power leadoff hitters, you know, just for the upside.
Yeah, you just need home runs at this point, especially this season, like even more so because I mean these teams like they just haven't been going off like like you remember last year, man, it was insane. Like I
Yeah.
know like some people forget because it was like that shortened season and it didn't even start until August, but I mean it was insane some of like the games that these teams were having, but it just hasn't been the case this year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
All right, we can move on to stacks. If you guys have questions on any pitchers or stacks, go ahead and ask. This is a weird slate for stacks. Like I said, 15 games. You know, like there's a lot of spots. I think Coors is obviously gonna be chalky. It's the best spot. Like this guy for Arizona just doesn't look good to me at all. Came from the KBO, Frankoff. I mean, this he doesn't look good. Their bullpen is terrible. So the Rockies are in a great spot, and Marquez, you know, hasn't been amazing this season as well. So you can obviously take some lefties against him. Outside of Coors, I'm curious to hear your favorite stacks because there's a couple that stick out to me, but I don't think they're going to be like the chalkiest spots on the slate, to be honest.
So for me, the first one that jumped off the page, to be honest with you, was the Royals. Am I crazy? They were one of the first teams that jumped off the page to me, just taking price into consideration and team total. Good weather in Kansas City and the wind blowing out 12 miles per hour there. The play minor with them. Obviously, we want some run support for him. Guys in the middle of the order like Benintendi and Soler, even Ryan O'Hearn at 2.6K in the 6 hole, I thought was really interesting. So that I thought was a really good stack if you wanted to try to prioritize some of the upper echelon of pitching on this slate. And then another one for me, I mean, I'm a sucker for it. Sorry, Wilax, but the Atlanta Braves, man, I just got to, I mean, I got to keep going back to them, especially here against a lefty, just guys like Ozuna and Albies from the right side, Austin Riley, Swanson, the entire 3 through 6. And that's not even including their best 2 hitters, Acuna and Freeman. I just want to be invested in this Braves offense because the breakout is coming and I want to be early on it, you know?
Yeah, I like where we're at. Literally, the first 2 teams that I had written down today were the Braves and the Royals. So I'm glad we're on
Look at
the
that.
same
Look at
page here.
that.
I don't think the Royals are going to be chalk, right? Like I don't think people will
No,
play Royals on
I
this
think
slate.
Benintendi, he's always popular
Yeah,
whenever
because
they
he's
have a
cheap.
decent total. Yeah, especially against Urena. I mean, he's a guy that we want left-handed bats against. So here I always have a dilemma with Whit Merrifield because to me, I mean, he's so similar. I mean, he's Trey Turner without the power, right? Like, is that a crazy take?
No, he is.
Like,
He's really good. And
I mean,
he
he's
like
unreal.
wants to steal, right? Like when he gets
He
on,
does.
he is stealing no matter what if he gets on base. Like he's gonna try
Yeah.
at least, which I like.
Man, I miss Alberto Mondesi in this lineup. I
I
don't
know
know
it's like
when
the
he's
one
supposed to be
thing
back,
missing.
but yeah, they definitely miss him for sure. But yeah, I mean, they definitely are really really interesting. It's so tough. I always feel like I always want to include him in those Royal stacks because he always produces, but he's so expensive. Like 5.7K for him is so much on this slate. So but definitely interesting. Another sneaky one. I mean, go to the Rangers. Looks like a bullpen game here for the Astros with this Tyler Ivy guy opening for them. So they're pretty cheap, and we like some of those guys in the middle order from Joey Gallo still under 4K. Adolis Garcia, this guy will never get a price bump, 3.5K. Willie Calhoun at 3K. Just some really cheap bats there with like a decent mid fours total. Just, looking at some secondary stacks to build around our Rockies here. One thing you did mention was attacking German Marquez with some lefties. And yeah, it's not like you said to do it, but he's someone that I don't love to attack. I don't know. And this Diamondbacks roster just really unappealing. You brought up the bullpen. They've had to work the past 3 days, like a ton of innings. They used 2 openers the first 2 games of that Dodgers series. I mean, it's really ugly for them. And, wind blowing out in cores, just a really fantastic spot here for the Rockies, just to reiterate on that.
Yeah, I completely agree. The other one I was going to bring up was the White Sox. I know Montgomery is pretty solid, but the White Sox just destroy left-handed pitching. Abreu's
Man,
back in the lineup.
the second you said that, I got really excited. The second you
Yeah,
said that, I got really excited because it makes so much sense.
Abreu's in there batting cleanup. I mean, it's just a good lineup. Something has to win there, right? Like a decent pitcher and a really good offense. Like one of them's going to win. And I don't think the White Sox will get literally any ownership, but it's just such a good team to stack, man. Like you get Anderson, has power and speed. Abreu, obviously huge power. Either their catchers, huge power. It's just a good lineup that I like to play. So I do like them in tournaments.
Yeah, I think Madrigal will get pretty popular as a one-off, like a cheap
Yeah.
at second base,
Especially
under
because he hit
3K.
that chalk homer the other day.
Yeah, he that barely went out. Some people who played him in the call were very happy, others were not.
Yeah. Is there anyone else? I mean, there's
The Brewers.
You could realistically make a case for a lot of these teams, man.
Yeah, the Brewers 2 through 5 is really appealing to me. Kane, Yelich, Navarez, and Vogelbach. Just Kane and Vogelbach are always underpriced. Yelich, I want to play him under 5K for sure in this small ballpark in Cincinnati. And then anytime you could get a cleanup hitting catcher in a favorable matchup, good ballpark, under 4K. I do think that's appealing as well. So I think the Brewers have to be in consideration as well. But just to put a stamp on it, if you had to decide right now, like who your second stack with Colorado would be, who would you be going with, do you think?
It's definitely between the Royals and the Braves. I would probably lean Braves just because, I mean, we've talked about it a number of times, right? Like they started off the season so bad against left-handed pitching. They were like bottom of the league after like the first 5-6 weeks. They were bottom of the league in a bunch of offensive categories against left-handed pitching. But if you look at the last 2 seasons, they were at the top of the league. So eventually, I think that's going to correct, right? It's all the same batters. They were striking out a lot, but the whole entire league is striking out a lot. So I don't really think you can take you have to take that with a grain of salt. But I really like the Braves tonight. I'm going to keep playing them against lefties.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many other teams with good totals that we didn't even mention, the Rays, stuff like that. One thing I will say, like on slates like this, where we have a ton of really good offensive spots, like I'm not shy to pick just some of my favorite bats and run a one-off lineup, like not get obsessed with the stacks. I know somewhere out there, Sam Sherman is, shaking his head at me. Oh, look at this donkey recommending one-offs, not playing stacks, but there's some merit to it when we have a bunch of underpriced guys in really good matchups that we think you can succeed. I'm kind of okay doing it on a slate like this, on a massive slate.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. And I think the bigger the slate, the more incentive to do that is, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I mean, yes, a team might go for 10 runs, but we may have 4 teams that go for 10 runs on this slate, and you want to have the best 2 pieces of all of them. So a bunch of those mini stacks just, I mean, they make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and I think like with the way pitching has been, like we might have any teams go for 10 runs, Like it might be like
That's
a
true as
bunch of
well.
like
Yep.
it might be a bunch of like 6. Like there might be a bunch of teams that can hit 6 or 7 runs. So it's gonna
the 10 strikeout Jeff Hoffman game is coming. Everyone
Yeah.
knows that.
I mean, look at Merrill Kelly. What was that, last night or whatever?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll go position by position here before we head out. If you guys have questions, go ahead, drop them in. Catcher. Diamondbacks guys are cheap, right? You have Vogt, you have Dalton Varsho, depending on what their lineup looks like. They both might be in there. So you get some cheap guys there. You mentioned Omar Narvaez hitting cleanup, cheap catcher as well. If you're spending up, I like Salvador Perez a good bit. And we didn't talk about the A's for stacks, but I think Sean Murphy and some of their right-handed bats are really interesting tonight as well.
Yep, I agree with all of those guys. I think if Tom Murphy, even though it's not versus a lefty, if he gets a decent lineup spot here against Paddock, he's interesting at 2.4K. I feel like I'm going to spend down here today just because there's so many other really, really good spots. But, it's always a good time to flip the build and play one of those expensive catchers if everyone's going to be paying down today. So I think for me, the like catcher might be the last position I fill in today just because I'm not feeling like it's a priority of there's a must have at the position right now.
Yep, I agree. First base, I think CJ Cron's going to be really chalky on DraftKings. Tough to argue it under 4K. This game environment against just a bad pitcher, bad bullpen. So really tough for me to argue that. I would be playing him in cash games. Outside of that, like I said, you have Jose Abreu back in lineup. I like him in tournaments. I like Carlos Santana fitting with our Royals. And Rhys Hoskins, I don't love the Phillies as a full stack, but you can certainly use power hitters against Perez, and that's exactly what Hoskins is. He hits a ton of fly balls, fly ball pitcher. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think this is a spend down position for me today with three really, really strong 3K options in Josh Bell, CJ Cron, and even Pavin Smith leading off, most likely leading off today versus the Rockies. Just a little spoiler alert, CJ Cron may or may not be my 2 home run call for tonight. So yeah, where I'm going at first base today.
All right. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Second base, you have the Coors guys here. Either team, kind of depending on what lineups look like, but they're going to take some ownership. And I like some cheaper options here. You mentioned Madrigal could pick up some ownership potentially at his price. Jazz Chisholm, our boy, is 4K. I think that's a pretty good price tag for him. And Luis Ariz is back in the lineup for the Twins leading off. He's very cheap on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think Urias gets some ownership here for sure. Tristan McKenzie, I mean, a guy that I'm pretty bullish on long term, but just hasn't shown it this year. Taking a little bit to get going. I still think that he's pretty talented. Don't really love attacking him, but Uriah is under 3K. Definitely a great play. We'll see where this Domingo Leyba guy. He was min price yesterday.
Yeah,
at 2K.
I was gonna bring that up. I don't know if he's in the lineup.
Up to 2.8. Yeah, up to 2.8 today. I think if he's hitting ninth, I'm not crazy excited about it. So we'll see. Maybe, a guy like Josh Harrison, we'll see where he cracks the order today for Washington. Yeah, but still feels like a spend down. I think people will be interested in getting up to Escobar or McMahon on this slate. They're just real expensive. Really good spots in cores, but they're really pricey.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jazz is probably at the top of my one-off list today, to be honest, though. If we're talking about making a one-off team, I think he's.
Yeah, I mean, he's so freaking good, man. I feel like nobody knows about it yet. We were on it earlier in the year, then he got hurt, but I mean, we're all the way back, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember when I think he came over in the Zach Gallen trade. So Zach Gallen was kind of popping off for the Marlins when they traded him, and everyone was confused. Why would a team that's rebuilding trade a young pitcher like that? And they got Jazz Chisholm back, and everyone was like, why? He wasn't he was like a prospect, but not like a top 10 prospect, right?
Yeah, that's paid off.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of been a win for both teams, depending on if Gallen stays healthy. But we'll go to third base here. Coors Field, per usual, will be taking some ownership here. Jonathan VR, maybe if he's at the top of the lineup for a cheap option. Justin Turner's under 5K against a lefty, even though I think Alex Wood is pretty good. He's a really good hitter against lefties, so I think under 5K I would be interested. And then Matt Chapman is still cheap relative to his upside as well.
Yeah, I agree. Austin Riley's a guy that I'm pretty interested in too. He's been unbelievably hot in the 5-hole for the Braves. He's probably my favorite guy, honestly. VR's been fantastic, but I feel like that iron has struck hot, and I'm kind of off of
Yeah,
him tonight.
I
Like
rostered VR for a home run, right? Like
yeah,
I don't really want to
I
go
feel like
back there.
I feel like I ran pretty pure already with how much VR I've been playing. So, it's not someone that I'm super confident in going back to today. Yeah, it's tough outside of the cores guys. Man, I'm trying to think of who my favorite like spend up guy is. Matt Chapman against a lefty Quintana, who has been hot and cold this year.
I do
Man,
think
it's
Kyle Seager's interesting here as well. So we were kind
yeah,
of talking about them, but
Kyle Seager's definitely
he's been really
interesting as
good,
well.
man. Really good. Still
Yeah,
barreling the
this feels
ball a
like
ton.
the third base feels like a spot where I might pay up and go grab an Escobar or a McMahon. I'm probably more likely to spend down at second base just because I like a few of those options, but I might go grab Escobar or McMahon here at third base.
Yeah, I feel the same way at shortstop. We'll head right over there, but I think it's a spend up position, right? I like a lot of those guys at the top.
Has to be, yep.
Not a ton of value that I'm liking here. Like I think Trevor Story is where you would want to go in cash games. I'd probably be prioritizing him along with CJ Crone and some of the other guys. Outside of him, I mean, I like Tim Anderson. Who else are you really using here other than the expensive guys?
Yeah, I think Story's going to be really, really popular tonight.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
he might be the most popular player on the slate, when it all shakes out, just because I mean, yes, we have other spend up options, but none of them compare to Story. He's we bring up projections, not that we live and die by them here in baseball, but he's projecting like 2 whole points higher than everyone else at the position. Which, when you're gaining that type of advantage, and he's just going to pop in all the optimals and whatnot. The other guy I would consider is Dansby Swanson. Man, I'm addicted to the Braves, but it's okay. I'm fine with it. They're going to treat me right eventually. He was fantastic last night. Hit a home run last night. I think he put up like 26 fantasy points, which was nice. And then honorary mention to Francisco Lindor under 5K.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe you can play him like as long as he's under 5K. I have
The
no
problem
problem
is
with
it's
it.
only a 500 difference off Story. If Story was
Yeah.
6K, now we'd have a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But Stories, I don't have the data to back this up in front of me right now. I feel like he's been running a lot this year as well. I don't have that in front of me to look up right now, but I feel like he's been running a ton too. So he's getting it done, both ways.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally like even without that, he's just his numbers at home. They're insane, right? If you look at
I'm saying
career wise.
there's no way he should be cheaper than Turner and Tatis on this slate.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
that
he should be over 6K probably.
he
Should
should
be like
definitely be over
62,
6K.
63.
And we've seen that, first game in core stuff where like the dynamic pricing is slow to adjust. And, DraftKings is like, oh, shucks, we'll get him tomorrow kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we just have like this crazy chalk core slate. I mean, they kept Joe he was min price at Core's first game, and then they bumped him up to 2,200 and thought, oh, this will do the trick. This will bring his ownership down. He was like 40% owned in single entry. So
unbelievable. It's just weird. It's like hit or miss what they price up.
it
Like
is weird.
it's
It is weird, but
strange.
I don't hate it. I kind of like when the slates are different and we have to think about them in different ways, and there's different ways to approach and whatnot. So.
Yeah, we'll finish up here at outfield. I think Christian Yelich is probably the best play here, under 5K. Like it's just too cheap for him. He gets a guy that struggles with lefties, good hitters park. Tough to talk me off him. You have the cores guys. You have the Arizona outfield. Some of those guys are outfield eligible, that are cheap that could crack the lineup. And then you have Charlie Blackmon, Tapia. I like to play him, man, when he's at the top of the lineup. Another guy that will
Yeah, me
run.
too.
And it's just easy for them to get on base. So I like those guys. I think Joey Gallo is still too cheap, so I think you can use him under 4K. And I guess like other than the Braves guys, I would throw like the Reds lefties in there as well against Hauser. But that's probably the top of my outfield list today.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at the top for cash games, it's definitely Blackmon, Tapia, and Yelich. Pavin Smith, if he's leading off, definitely will be interesting against Marquez. I think that he's a good play under 4K. I don't know. Like, I think I'm prioritizing those other three guys personally. Honorary mention of Juan Soto every day. He finally hit a home run for me the other day, but I'm just going to keep playing this guy. They did price him up now over 6K, but I think he's just he's on a different planet as a hitter. So I definitely want to keep targeting him especially against a guy like Lopez. But Benintendi, I think that's a guy that we need to talk about as well. At 3.6K, there are a ton of outfielders I want to play today. I wish I had 4 outfield spots personally.
I know that's like part of the good part of FanDuel. You get that utility at least, so you can play
Yeah, it is
4 of
really
these
nice.
guys.
I
But
mean, like even we didn't mention him at first base, but Andrew Vaughn, 2.2K against Montgomery. Like I keep bringing it up, one of the best hitting prospects in baseball for at 2.2K, even hitting lower in the order will just drive down his ownership. Where to me, he's like the same play as if he was batting fifth and would be chalk. So I'm definitely interested in him as well.
yeah, I think Benintendi, Soler, and Kalenic are like the top, like really cheap guys.
I
In
didn't
the
even.
3K
We,
range.
we
But
just went that whole time. I didn't even bring up Kalenic. That's how many
dude, we
plays
got.
there are
I
in the
know
outfield today.
that
It's
might
crazy.
be, dude. I might have to play him again, man. I've told myself all week to just keep playing him, so I might
Yep.
have to just go right back to it tonight, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. There's just so many outfield plays, and that's why, like, if you just go to a guy like Juan Soto at 6K, there are so many good mid range and cheap plays where like you're instantly contrarian. What was it the other night? You played Acuna and he hit a home run at what, like 2% or something like that. Like that's just insane. Like, what if he double donked? Like he can very very easily do that any night.
Yeah, it was
At 2%
super
owned.
ironic. That was the night that I said Acuna was going to hit a home run on the first pitch, and he hit a home run on the last pitch of the game. But it worked
Yeah,
out
thanks,
nonetheless.
thanks, thanks for the reminder. Appreciate that.
It worked out nonetheless.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, I think we covered the slate pretty well. If you guys have any last minute questions, you can drop them in. You kind of hinted at it, but you can give me home run call for tonight.
Yeah, so Coors would be cheating to give the home run call with Crone. I do think that,
Yeah.
he's an elite play. I'm probably going to play him. But for my second one, I kind of liked where you mentioned him in our outfield pool, but Joey Gallo, man, under 4K, anytime that we can get him at that price, just insane power upside. So give me some Joey Gallo tonight as a home run call.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with our boy and pick Jared Kalenic for mine. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. It was a Friday night when it came for Kirilov for me.
Yep.
So we'll just keep riding him, and hopefully tonight is the night.
Yep, I like that a lot, man. Man, so much to cover in this slate, so many different ways to go. I'm sure we're going to be talking all the way up until lock over in Discord. Just there's a million different ways to go, and we're going to put you in a position to win. If you sign up with our core plays and join us over in our premium Discord.
Yep. DFSCommer.com. If you want access, like I said, Final Thoughts is free tonight, so I'll be working on those after we hop off here. But thank you guys for watching, and good luck tonight. We'll see you guys on Monday.